Hi, today I'm looking at this Mercedes. This is a CLK200 and it's a 2001. This car's got a battery drain. First thing I did was load test the battery with this old load tester and it's okay. So the next thing I've done is got it ready for doing a battery drain. I'll show you how I check that out. Got it prepared. Come around here, Leon, and have a look. Using some rolled up card, it's got a little switch right there. So wedging the rolled up card, I've managed to hold the switch closed. Same on the other side, and a similar idea on the boot, right up here. Just to get it down. Then I'm looking at the battery down here, and we see the amps is 153. I'll just wait for this bike to go. Right, so the amps is 153 milliamps. Got it connected in series. I've been through the fuses, looking for a voltage drop. So basically using a second multimeter and leaving that one in place. I'll show you what I've done over here. This one. So I just set this up on volts. I've seen it before. Change it to DC. So I go across each fuse like that, and there's one fuse. See, they're all at 0, right? The next fuse, 26, I've got almost 0, because this is millivolts, 0.6 of a millivolt, so that's not a lot, but that's the one. I just moved off the fuse there. That's the one that's giving us our battery drain. If I leave this for long enough, it goes down to 0.111. So 111 milliamps. If I take the fuse out, it goes down to 26, which is still a little high, but it's not quite as bad. So I think they'll be okay with that. If I get it down to 26 milliamps, it may even eventually go lower. So if I pull this fuse out, it goes to nothing. But what I wanted to see now was what's on that fuse. So when I looked at this, I figured out we've got the air conditioner, the automatic heater control, engine residual heater, and the instrument cluster are all on that same fuse. So I'm going to unplug the instrument cluster and see if that takes the drain away up here. So we're still at 0.5. Let's unplug that instrument cluster. Well, that's just the one thing to go from. It just pulled out and it looked fairly easy. No special tools required. You just grab it at the bottom and it pulled right out. I'll show you. So here's the instrument cluster. I unplug it. I haven't unplugged it yet. I just pulled the dash out and then started to record. So I do one plug, I'll take them both off. That's both plugs disconnected, right? Let's see now. If I go across that fuse, the same one that had 0.5. It's nothing. It's nothing now. See that? So if we go to the back, let's see what amps we have at the back. It's still a little high. If you look at that, Leon, it's still 0.58. That's a little high, but I know if I leave it long enough, that goes down to 26. So I'll give it a few minutes and see if it's still going to do that. But it looks like it's the instrument cluster that's the main problem on this. Okay. With the instrument cluster out, it drops. I only had to undo one side, one connector, to get it to drop. If I undid just the other connector, it didn't drop. Now I'm at 59 milliamps, 0.059. What I'm going to do now is take this fuse out to see what happens now. Fuse 26. So it's not gone down as far as I wanted it to. But it stays the same. So that tells me there's no point spending more time looking at any of those other things on that fuse circuit, because it's going to stay the same. We do have something that's a little higher than it should be though, but it's certainly better than it was. All I've done is left it a little longer and it's gone to 28 milliamps. I can't remember how long it took. I should have timed it. Should have made a note of the time. Probably about an hour. I don't know. So I'm not going to spend more time on this. I can just put together what I've already got. I did think I'd start checking out this stuff, the aftermarket stuff that's in here. However, the 28 milliamps, I'm going to leave that. I'm just going to button it up and not worry about that. I know there's a problem with the dash causing the drain, and when you disconnect that one thing, we're okay. .28 milliamps, 25, somewhere around there. It's fluctuating a little bit. But that's fine, I'm not going to waste time on it for that. 25 milliamps. What I'm going to do now is use this little test lamp here. Maybe I want an LED rather than this one. But for now I'll light that. If it'll stay. Yeah, that's it on now. So that little test light. Let's put it up to kind of where it was before, a little higher. But that's kind of all that it was that was draining the battery. We take that away, 150 milliamps. It's gone back down. That was the difference, you know, take the 150 and we're right about where it was if we had another 150 milliamps. I'm going to do the same thing with an LED test light. I'll just go and grab it out of my van and we'll see what happens with this. The LED is lit, same as before. So if I'm going to look at this, we're up to 50, so it's roughly doubled it. So basically what that means is, take that away, that little LED you think wouldn't drain much, that's roughly, when that settles down eventually, that'll be back to 25 milliamps. That's all it is. On this car, when it's asleep, is the same as one of them being left on. So it just gives you an idea of what we're looking at. It's quite low. Even that one would be too high, about 150 milliamps. That's 25 milliamps. So next stage, we know this fuse right here is connected to a few things. One of those things in this case is the instrument cluster, and that's the one with the drain. When I disconnect it, it doesn't do it. It still takes about an hour to shut down though. What I've also realized is half of this lights up the ignition off. There's no key in the car, but the other half doesn't light, so I'm guessing that their ignition feeds. I was looking at what these power, and that one's the glove box light in the glove box. I think that was the washers and wipers. Can't remember what they do, but they're things that must be decided they only need to work with the ignition on. I'm surprised about the glove box. Would have thought that may have been handy to work all the time. But my thought for now is, because I don't have an instrument cluster, is taking the power side of this fuse. I know they're both power now, but if you remove it, only one of those is going to be power. So we would forget that one and put a put the fuse with a jumper from the spare one here into here. That should work. Just to switch that instrument cluster off when the key's off. For now, until we get a new instrument cluster, that should fix the battery drain. So that's the one that isn't lit. That would go to the instrument cluster, and the one that is lit, I know the other way around, I wasn't on properly. So that one doesn't go to the instrument cluster, that's coming from the battery. The other side that's not lit would go to the instrument cluster. So we could take it from that one, join it to that one. There may be knock-on effects. It might not, certain things may not work. If we turn the key off and it kills that, we know the the heater is also on the same fuse, but the instrument cluster itself may affect other things like central locking in one way that you wouldn't really think it's connected, but it may be connected. So we could try it with that fuse out and see if everything shuts and locks. Let's see if it locks. Yeah, it's locked. Lights flashed in the mirror. A bit like that. Now we'll see if it opens. Yeah, so they can lock and unlock the car with that fuse out. So that's the main thing. At least it's going to stop the battery and he can still lock it. I'll do it again. Check the other side locks. Yeah, that's locking too. So we're good. Unlock. Yeah, I think that's all I'm going to do for now, and just get the part number off the back of the dash or the instrument cluster. If I make a note of that part number, if we see one or see if he wants to get it repaired, I've got a feeling this might do for his repair job, though. He may be happy with that. There are some pixels that are damaged in the display anyway, so that could have been a clue, actually. Could have been a clue that there's maybe a fault with it, but there's the part number. So that's my plan. I'll go and do that wire like I said and leave it at that. Here's the bypass to get it going. So when the ignition's off, we lose the power because we got the power from this side of the fuse box that's ignition controlled and not the side that's battery powered all the time. So we go from here when the ignition's on, switches on, goes through the same fuse that was in it and down to that one. And then you come into the car, we already know at least it's going to lock. And if I turn the key, we want the ignition to come on, and it does. And it all starts. It's even remembered the trip on there, 378 miles. I've got that BAS. That came on before when we've had a low battery and had stuff disconnected. It might come on every time that fuse works, which wouldn't be handy if every time we did that fuse that comes off. See, this is the thing, doing what I did, like I was saying, there may be a knock-on effect, but that's no good if that's going to stay on. I know last time he said he drove it and it went out straight away as soon as he started to drive it. So we'll have to drive it and see how long it takes to go out. I'll give that a go. I rotated the steering side to side and it went out. So, like that, all the way, and all the way the other way, which still isn't right. Still not right. So let's switch it off. It's off now. Ignition on. Start the car. Oh, it's going out. So it's not because that fuse was out. I don't know why that was doing that. That's handy. Would have been pretty annoying and also not right, but how it is now, I'm quite happy to leave it like that, because we've got it connected. So when we turn the ignition off, we lose the power at that. We lose the power at this fuse here. I show you there. The LED is not coming on now. Both sides of that fuse, if we go to the one next to it, these are on. These four, if I show you. These four are on, both sides of each of the fuses, and then the last four in the row don't come on until the ignition's on. I'll give that a minute to shut down. And we can start it and see that that light does stay out. The other thing I want to do after that is take the battery lead back off. Obviously I've put it back on to start the car, because that's too much amps to run through an ammeter that's in series. The other thing I want to do is get it set up again to do a battery drain. I'll come back out in an hour or so and see what it is. So that's the first stage of the ignition, just the ABS light. Second stage puts on the ignition. We start it and all the lights are out, so that's good. 62101, I'll make a note of the miles for the invoice. 62101. Actually, if you look at that, there's the pixelated stuff. It's not terrible, it's just not quite right. So you could probably live with that. It's a cheap repair until it becomes more of a problem. I think for 20, the flashing light on the suspension there. Oh, it stopped already. It just flashed a few times. I'm guessing that's the suspension, but it is a convertible roof. Could be to do with the roof, I don't know. Anyway, off. What was I saying? Gonna get the battery back with the ammeter in series and do a final test in an hour, but I'm happy with this. I can't remember what the mileage was, that's what I was saying. I'll make a note of it for the job sheet, for the job card. And pack my tools away. Like I say, I'll just get the last thing set up in the boot and that'll be the end of it. That's it all finished. I've just opened up the boot and had a look at the battery. See the inductive amp clamp has a different reading. It's not at 0 though. I zero that. It's actually changing before I even put it round the wire. I prefer to go in line, that's why I prefer to go in line. That's changing the more I move it about. See that? Different readings, all I'm doing is moving it down the wire. Up and down. I prefer to go with that. But that's fine, that's a fix. Thanks for watching.